It's not only the end of the season for host Ron Spomer, but a look into one of the most controversial whitetail hunting methods on this Winchester World of Whitetail.
Every buck that's run into the trees, I never see again. You'd think you'd see them flashing in through the openings here and there, but crafty buggers, they know how to stay out of sight. Way over on that ridge. About 100 plus yards. Over there. That's your yard shop. There it is, to the left. Tree. Come on, big boy. There we go.
Winchester's World of Whitetail.
In this rocky hill country, Winchester World of Whitetails' Ron Spomer is after not just trophy deer, but exploring a way of hunting, Texas style.
High-fenced Texas whitetail hunting. The phrase is almost a redundancy. If you're in Texas hunting whitetails, you're probably behind a fence. They invented high-fence whitetail. Some say it's too contrived, it's artificial, it's too much of a setup. Is it or isn't it? We're going to find out this week on Winchester's World of Whitetail.
And the 12,000-acre rugged terrain of FTW Ranch, covered in oaks, junipers, cactus, and deer, is the place to examine this question.
The FTW Ranch is a big place. It's 12,000 acres, 27 miles of perimeter fence. It is high fence, which we do to keep things out, not keep things in.
Hunting behind high fences is a controversial topic. Is it ethical? Is it unfair? Is it reasonable? Is it sporting? These are all questions we need to ask ourselves. Various states permit it. It's become much more popular in the world of whitetail. And it does produce some really big whitetails because those fences are keeping out people who might poach or overuse a resource. They're keeping deer in an area in which they're safe and can be controlled. So the harvest isn't excessive, and that lets bucks get big because they get old. You don't get that on a lot of public lands which are overhunted. Whether or not it's the kind of hunting you want is up to you. That's one of the joys of being an American and having choices. Hunt out in the big open, hunt behind a high fence. You get to decide what's fair and what's ethical.
Our animals here on the FTW are very wild. And they're born here, and they're acclimated to here, and they do not appreciate any human company at all. So it's a hunt. For instance, we're only 60% successful on our Mark IV hunts in a 4-day hunt. I mean, there's nothing given here, and that's as it should be.
There's constantly hunters moving in and out of the woods, and these deer have learned to stay out of their way. So when I show up thinking it's a slam dunk, is anything but. There's some large bucks in here, but there are some extra wary, secretive, sneaky bucks in here, and they sneaked away from me.
Hunting on his own, Spomer starts out the first morning working his way across the broken shards of rock that litter the ground and finds unexpected weather.
What a fun change of pace this is. Our first morning at FTW Ranch in the hill country of Texas. Now we've come about 300 miles east of that extremely drought-stricken southwest Texas desert country, and they've got 7 inches of rain here in the last month, and it's made a huge difference. The ground is soft and quiet, and today we've got a big storm blowing in from the northwest. We've got a lot of wind that covers all kinds of noise. You can make more mistakes, but you still have to be careful that they don't see you. But we're in some broken hill country. We've got lots of crevices and rocks and trees, a lot of oaks, so there's plenty of places to hide and sneak. And you have to watch ahead of yourself through those gaps in the trees to see the deer. And in this low contrast gray light, it's difficult to see deer. Gray hides, gray ground, everything blends together, so you really have to be careful and look. But if you glance ahead through the holes in the trees, bingo, you're going to see deer. And I just saw a bunch of them filtering through the trees. There comes one now, right down that slope. Yeah, just a doe. This is going to be fun. I'm just going to still hunt into the wind. Right now it's quartering, and I have to watch that slope. I'm getting blown out on this side, but I want to circle around, get downwind, and then work my way back through this valley, because all morning I think those deer, because of the storm, are going to be moving a lot. They're going to cross from the woods on that side, cross this more open valley to the woods on this side, and vice versa. This is going to be a great still hunt. This is about impossible to hunt, this kind of brush. I mean, you'd have to be the human equivalent of a mountain lion to take a deer out of choked brush like this. Got this eastern red cedar growing up in here, taking over all the oaks on these hillsides, and it's, of course, perfect bedding cover. And this is why you can grow really big old bucks when they've got escape cover this dense. And they turn nocturnal, that's where they hide out, and almost nobody can get at them. You've almost got to just trust to luck that in the rut, the big buck is going to come out of the heavy cover in the daylight. So you just work the edges of it, and that's what I'm going to do. Stay out just along the edges, keep the wind in my favor, and still hunt, glassing and watching. And every time I see movement in does, I'm going to watch for a buck following them, because the rut's just starting. And that's my best bet. Getting in this thick stuff is just an exercise in exercise. Every buck that's run into the trees, I never see again. You'd think you'd see them flashing in through the openings in there, but crafty buggers, they know how to stay out of sight.
Winchester's World of Whitetail is brought to you by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Ram Trucks, Guts, Glory, Ram. Dallas Safari Club, promoting conservation, education, and ethical hunting worldwide. Bushnell, the new laws of performance. And by Mossberg, field-proven performance. Along with first-class hunting, Texas's FTW Ranch offers a unique training program for safari-bound hunters, as Ron Spomer will learn.
I've had experience on the FTW Ranch primarily as a target shooter. Checked it out a couple of times for the sniper training. I was pretty impressed, and when I found out they had that African big bore training, I came down and checked that out. And boy, that was an education.
This ranch is perfect for hunter training. I mean, it's always got winds, it's elevation, angles, and so forth, steep, deep canyons, and so on. So what we've done is take the best of the hunting world and precision shooting world of sniping, or snipers, if you will, and blended the two together. And the biggest thing we focus on is teaching hunters where their limitations are. In other words, where does your level of incompetency begin, and that's when you stop.
The FTW Ranch specializes in sportsman's all-terrain, all-weather marksmanship. Training classes for long-range sniper precision shooting, but also moving game, dangerous game African hunting. And that African hunting is really becoming the popular item. If you're going to spend a lot of money going to hunt in Africa, you don't want to be an amateur. And if you've got a big buffalo or an elephant about to stomp you on the ground, you really don't want to be an amateur. So it makes sense to spend a little money learning how to properly handle your rifle for dangerous game and running game and charging game. And you get to do it right here.
Well, Ron, what we're going to do just now is we're going to go through a buffalo charge sequence. We're going to shoot a broadside buffalo, like it's your first shot.
Got it.
And all of a sudden that buffalo is going to come at you on the right here, with his head up, which is typical. And the second shot, I want you to get as much lead into him as you possibly can. In this case, the target is at the bottom of the chin, down 6-8 inches above the bottom of the brisket. And then we'll shift over and you have one last bullet in your gun.
All right, fire me up.
Ready? There you go, sir. Here you come. Take him. In the brain. There you go, nice shot, nice shot.
Lay it on me, Tim.
Well, there's not a lot I can say, my friend. How do you beat that kind of accuracy on a moving target?
If you want to find out how much you don't know about shooting, take one of these courses, because they can really teach you what you should know or you thought you knew, and you just become a much better hunter.
Modern rifle scope technology has brought about enormous advances in optics, but with extreme power ranges, hunters have to keep their minds on their scopes or miss a shot.
The most popular hunting scopes today are zooms, meaning the magnification changes from a low power to a higher power. In the old days, they used to run from about 3 to 9. That's a 3 times power range adjustment. Well, these days, they're cranking them up to as much as 6.5x changes in the zoom range. So on this Bushnell scope, for instance, it's an Elite 6500, and that means it goes from 2.5 power, a really wide shallow view, all the way up to 16, making it an incredibly versatile scope. The problem we often run into is we're so enamored of that high power, we're setting around 16 and then walking around all day, getting off the open country and into the woods, and suddenly a deer jumps up and you've got nothing but hair, as everyone says, because you've got a narrow angle of view and a large magnification. So make it a point to carry it down there at 2.5 or maybe at 4, some sort of a lower end compromise until you actually see a long distance target when you need to dial it up. Another problem with dialing up high magnification, though, is if you miss the first shot and the animal moves or runs, you're going to recoil out of that shot. It'll make it more difficult to relocate the animal. And if it's running, you've really got problems because you've got no space on either side of it in order to swing in front and give it a lead. Better to be sitting at about 6x or 8x. You can easily target a 300-400 yard animal at those settings. So don't get overly enthusiastic about those really high settings unless it's a long-range target over 300 yards, dead steady rest, then you can take advantage of the higher power.
Contrary to the myth that deer are sitting ducks behind high fences, Spomer's finding the Texas whitetail on the FTW ranch a true challenge.
I've been poking around up in these valleys and the hillsides where all these cedar groves are. It's obviously thick bedding cover, but I was hoping to find maybe some food source or some bedding sites, just figure out what's going on exactly up in here to see whether a guy could still hunt. About impossible. There's all these rocks, and it's pretty hard to walk on them without making some racket. We've got about an hour now before dark, prime feeding time, so if I just inch along the side and watch the wind, I ought to catch them coming out of the trees. That's what I'm going to try to do. Well, here's a big rub, and a thorough rub too. They've got it all around that tree. Yeah, oak tree. Why they got the shavings down here? It's a signpost for a buck. All right, we're in his neighborhood. Geez, once they get behind those trees, they're just gone. You'd think you could find them again, but man, every buck that's run into the trees, I never see again. I mean, you'd think you'd see them flashing in through the openings here and there, but unless there's always a big decline creek bed or something they're hiding in down there, but I would think they'd come up on that hillside. Crafty buggers, they know how to stay out of sight. Man, there's a lot of brush down there. Cedars are hard to see through there. Oh, a lot of foliage on them. There's a brand new ridge. Big buck. That's 200 yards. He's gonna go underneath that little ridge and I can move.
Winchester's World of Whitetail is brought to you by Mossberg, field-proven performance. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Shop at one of over 30 locations or online at sportsmanswarehouse.com. Mossy Oak, it's not a passion, it's an obsession.
You know the only thing better than getting to hunt whitetails all fall? Getting to hunt them in a brand new Ram Outdoorsman truck. Here's something really cool. 115 volt outlet. You don't have to drag around all those extra cords for the 12 volt system in your car. You use your 110, plug that baby in and you're charging up your cell phone, your iPod, even your computer. Takes up to 150 watts. That's going to come in handy on the road. This is one great truck. I just picked it up in Colorado, drove it 900 miles. We're going to get it all tricked out to hit the road for World of Whitetail.
I'm sitting here on the Edwards Plateau, the hill country of Texas, and it strikes me this is the habitat for an endangered species called the golden-cheeked warbler. It's a beautiful little golden yellow and black warbler, tiny little bird, but it's endangered, yet no one hunts it. I mean, when's the last time somebody had a hunting season on a golden-cheeked warbler? So why is it endangered while our whitetails aren't? I think most people are confused, just completely misinformed and confused about conservation, environmentalism, and hunting. Hunting really is conservation. It sounds kind of corny and trite, but when you're paying money to support habitat that supports wildlife, it benefits, and it's a renewable resource. Our use of the environment and what we do to the habitat is what makes or breaks endangered species. It's not hunting. Controlled hunting is pretty much just the opposite. So if you don't overshoot the population and you provide good habitat for it, it's perpetuated year after year, decade after decade, forever. I'm just glad I'm part of the conservation solution and not as much a part of the problem.
Part of the problem for Ron is all the rocks underfoot that make silent stalking virtually impossible. So he's found an alternate route over this rough terrain.
Boy, in these rocky canyons, it just seems to me the smartest thing to do is still hunt down this road because it's so quiet. And that way you hear them walking on the rocky hillsides instead of you. Plus, I'm seeing a lot of tracks coming up the road and a lot of scrapes under these trees. I think these bucks are working up and down the road. So I'm just going to still hunt quietly down through here and might catch one 100, 200 yards ahead of me. Here's this trail right here. Goes right through here. Yeah, good sized tracks in here. I'm getting them figured out. What I'm doing is I'm waiting for something to show up. There's a series of high ridges. I'm going to see what comes out of this canyon. See if it starts feeding up in that grass flat. And if it's a good one, I'm going to either stalk it and shoot it, or just shoot it and stalk it. Just watch it for a while. Everything's down in the trees right now, and there's no sense in going after them. I'll wait till they come out. So when I see things start to pop up on these ridges and move around, then I know it's time to go. And I'll just ease along through this laurel brush along the edges, and if I can see them before they see me. Way down that ridge. That's 500 plus yards. I don't think I can make it over there if I'm seeing it. Oh, here's something coming out of that bottom. Oh, there's the door right on the road. Big buck. It's right up the road. If he keeps coming this way, yeah, stop down in that little draw. He keeps walking. Direction he's going to run over that little ridge. That's 200. About 200-yard shot.
Winchester's World of Whitetail is brought to you by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Ram Trucks, Guts, Glory, Ram. Dallas Safari Club, promoting conservation, education, and ethical hunting worldwide. Bushnell, the new laws of performance. And by Mossy Oak. It's not a passion, it's an obsession. Setting out to experience high-fence Texas whitetail, Ron Spomer's found challenging terrain and wary, elusive deer. But his luck may be about to change.
There's a way over that ridge. That's 500 plus yards. I don't think I can make it over there without him seeing me. Oh, here's something coming out of that bottom. Oh, there's the door right on the road. Another one. Big buck. He keeps walking this direction. He's going to run underneath that little ridge, and I can move. Go down, go down. Okay. About 200-yard shot. There he is, way to the left. Trees in the way. He's gonna come out here if he keeps going. Come on, let's get out of there. Come on, big boy. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Oh, That's a nice buck. Well, that happened quick. Walked right in, right down this ridge. Sweet. Eager to see what this guy looks like, because I didn't have a lot of time to study him. He sure looked heavy. Oh, wow, look at this. He has a lot more tines than I thought he had. That's a beautiful rack. All kinds of extra stuff on there. Look at this. Look at that guy with all those points on him. That is really special. That's a cool looking buck. Texas Hill Country Whitetail, pretty special.
Well, that's a heck of a way to end the season. I go all the way up to the boreal forest of Canada, and I end up practically down in Mexico, getting a great buck like this. What a wonderful world of whitetail we have at our disposal. Winchester's World of Whitetail has been good to me this year, and I hope we can do it all again next year.
Man, I love my job. Not only do I get to hunt deer all fall, but I get to follow this fall color. I mean, you can start way up in the boreal forest and get autumn color in September and October and just stay with it all the way down here in Texas. And I've still got some beautiful auburn and yellow and gold colors late in December. I just love fall and fall color, and I get to see it for so long. What a job.